Hello and welcome back. I'm so glad you're here today because we're going to dive into one of the most painful, most frustrating experiences that can happen in a relationship. I'm talking about that heavy, sinking feeling when you realize you're being taken for granted. Now, if you're watching this, you probably know exactly what I mean. Maybe you're the one who always initiates the plans. Maybe you're the one who handles the majority of the household duties. Or maybe you're simply the one who gives and gives and gives, but you never seem to get that genuine appreciation or recognition in return. So let's unpack this. Why does this happen? And more importantly, what can you actually do to change this dynamic? First, we need to understand that the feeling of being taken for granted often doesn't start because your partner is suddenly a bad person or because they intentionally want to hurt you. No, it's usually a slow, insidious creep of complacency. Think about it like this. When you first start dating, everything is novel, right? He notices every new outfit. He thanks you profusely for the smallest gesture, even just for showing up. There is a high level of awareness of your contribution. Then over time, as things become comfortable, and comfort is a good thing, your contributions shift from being novel to being expected. They move from a conscious appreciated effort to an unconscious assumed utility. So if you're always the one loading the dishwasher, or always the one sending the I love you text first, or always the one planning the weekend, that behavior over time becomes invisible. It's like the air conditioning running in the background. You only notice it when it stops working. You become the reliable, silent mechanism that keeps the whole relationship running. Now, one of the biggest mistakes we make, especially as women who are natural nurturers, is that when we feel unappreciated, we try to solve the problem by doing more. Think about that. You feel ignored, so you bake his favorite cake. You feel unappreciated, so you clean the garage or plan a huge surprise trip. You're essentially trying to earn back the appreciation that should be freely given. But here's the key point. When you do more and more, and it's done without boundaries, it simply reinforces the subconscious idea that this level of effort is now the baseline. You're actually making it easier for him to take you for granted because you've solved all the problems before he even recognized them. So how do we shift this? It's not about fighting. It's about subtly, strategically recalibrating the relationship dynamic. The first step, and this is crucial, is to practice what I call the strategic pause. This means you identify one or two areas where you are constantly overfunctioning, and you just stop. Not aggressively, not dramatically, but simply pause. For example, if you always manage the social calendar, stop initiating the next few plans. If you always pick up his dry cleaning, stop. Just for a week. Now, what is the purpose of this strategic pause? It's not to punish him. The purpose is to allow a gap to open up. You need to create a space where the problem you've been solving now becomes his problem, or at least a shared problem. When he realizes, wait, where are we going this weekend? Or why don't I have any clean shirts? Your absence of effort makes your contribution visible again. Then when he steps in, even with a small effort, say he makes a reservation, or he finally loads the dishwasher. This is your moment for the second critical step. Acknowledge and reward the effort. We have to understand that what gets celebrated gets repeated. If he does something great, don't criticize the fact that he only did it after you stopped doing it. Instead, you genuinely, warmly acknowledge it. You say, "Thank you so much for planning this date tonight. I really appreciate how thoughtful you were to make all those calls. It means a lot to me." See how specific that is? You're not just saying, "Thanks." You're defining the behavior you want to see repeated, the thoughtfulness, the planning, the effort. By celebrating the small wins, you are essentially training the relationship dynamic to move back toward appreciation. Now, let's talk about the emotional side, because being taken for granted is fundamentally a boundary problem. It happens when we fail to communicate our needs and our limits. You need to have what I call a soft power conversation. This isn't a yelling match. It's a calm, well-timed discussion where you speak from a place of self-reference, not blame. So instead of saying, "You never help me and you take me for granted," which is confrontational and makes him defensive, you use I statements. You might say, "So I've been feeling really disconnected lately, and I wanted to share something with you. When I spend all day cleaning the house and it goes unnoticed, I start to feel really unappreciated, and honestly, it makes me feel resentful towards the relationship." See the difference? You're not attacking him. You're sharing your internal experience. You are articulating the emotional cost of his complacency. And then, this is important, You follow that feeling statement with a clear, small request for change. You might say, so moving forward, what I really need is for us to sit down for 15 minutes every Sunday night to share the chores list so we can both feel like we're contributing equally. How does that sound to you? By framing it as a solution for both of you to feel better, to remove your resentment, and create a more equitable partnership, you make it much easier for him to engage and agree. So remember the 3 takeaways from today. Stop overfunctioning, implement the strategic pause, create the gap so your contribution becomes visible through its absence. Acknowledge and celebrate. When he steps up, generously acknowledge the effort. What gets celebrated gets repeated. Speak with soft power. Use I statements to articulate your needs and the emotional cost of the current dynamic, followed by a clear, small, collaborative solution. You have immense value. You are not a maid, a planner, or a therapist. You are a partner, and you deserve a dynamic where your effort is seen, appreciated, and reciprocated. This shift takes time, it takes courage, and it takes consistency. But you absolutely have the power to create a relationship where you are cherished, not just accepted. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried the strategic pause and how it worked for you. I read every comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.